Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it very much, guy.
Sheesh. Definitely awake now.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So I went to see my friend's band play last night. They started at like 9:30, and it's like this cover band. It's really great. And when you have just one house band all night, there's 3 separate sets throughout the night till 1 o'clock or whatever it is. I made it past like the first set, dude, and then I was like, I'm like, no drinks, nothing. I'm just like sitting there, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta go. And then on top of that, like we were saying, we got the time change, and we're both like, I'm not saying the O word, but I'm just saying like it's a little rough. It's a little rough.
Yeah.
Good morning. Listen to the 2 O men complaining. How's everyone doing?
I'm good. Does that count me?
Yeah, everybody. Tired is the word. Den of Geek is here. Matt Tracker, Ruben, good to see you, dude. JT, good morning. JT loves the EGM morning coffee. Packers is here. Hopefully with clothes. You never quite know.
Or without
Christoph,
clothes. Whatever.
yeah, he's a freak and he loves it. He doesn't care. Christoph, good morning from Poland. It's 3:00 there. Good to see you, dude. Dargoon, my friend, welcome on in. And Severus is here. Good morning. Time change. Yeah. So I normally get up at 7. Will, what time do you get up usually? Sorry, no, 6. 6. What time do you wake up every day? You're muted. It says you're muted. We got technical issues here. So I can control the mute here, but it's not doing. Can't unmute your guest. The mic isn't connected, it says. Yeah, so Will's cut off. Can you guys hear me still? Hello? Testing. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me, Will? Yeah, you can hear me? Okay. Yeah, yours, it's X'd out. That's weird. There we go. Say something.
Hello?
There you go. You're back, baby. You're back.
The hell?
Let's get to this. JT with $10 super chat. Thank you, brother, so much for the donation to the channel. I appreciate it, man. Much love. Okay, we're back. We're back. I knew it. See, look at this guy. Just me in the banana hammock watching streams.
Hey, we just want you to be comfy. You watch it the way you want. Don't let Jay tell you how to watch this stream.
Hey, man, I do not judge. I'm wearing a friggin' Captain N jacket in March for no reason and shorts.
Well, it is snowing, so at least like it kind of fits now.
Ontario with a reverse spring, so it gets really warm And then just when you think it's time to hit spring, nope, let's snow again. What are you talking about? What are we talking about? What's going on over here? We're at 12. And this is one. So we did this one not too long ago, 8, which is my favorite cover. And on the back side of that, I had 12 because it's my other favorite cover. So I'm excited to talk about this one.
And we were just talking about how like mint that magazine is right there.
Yeah.
Like it looks perfect, like fresh off the press.
Yeah. This is how I kept them as a kid. Yeah, I was very, very careful with all my stuff. Brandon, how you doing, buddy? Welcome on in from Facebook land. So we're gonna go through EGM number 12. Welcome on in, guys. I hope you have your coffee ready to go. We're gonna kick it. We're gonna start off with some great EGM goodness. Let's bring it on up. Great idea from Matt Rubin. Said, why don't you make the magazine link or put the magazine link in the description so we can
that's
follow
a good
along.
idea.
So yes, so I have done that. You guys could check out the link in the description of this live stream and follow along. And if you're watching afterwards, you could do the same. This is from Retro Mags, which is a great site. We're going to share this window. Boom.
Da-da-da.
Fingers crossed for the Bishu. That's what JT is saying. I hope so. Albert, how you doing?
I think the Bishu's done.
Well, if you remember, not too
Rest
long
in
ago,
Bishu.
we thought it was done too, and it made a comeback, remember, for that one issue. But we know the fate of Bishu, so it's really hard to say at this point.
Yeah.
Look at this cover, dude. What do you think about this cover?
It's badass. That's quite the, like, man. Yeah, I like it. Though the blue kind of throws me off a bit. It melds too much. I think it could be a different color on the outside, but the actual pick for Ninja Gaiden 2 is wicked.
Yeah, this was, I think it might be one of the intro cinematics for Ninja Gaiden 2. Just a incredible sequel to the Tecmo original Ninja Gaiden, however you want to say it. But this is a fantastic cover. All right, everyone got their coffee. Let's crack this open. And look, in the United States, EGM was $3.95. In Canada, it was $4.95, which I remember with tax at the time specifically came to $5.75 for many years. There you go. Packer says the cover takes me back to the Gaiden glory days. Yeah, buddy. Let's get into it. The old Tenjin $5 rebate. The contents. So we have the International Outlook, which is the a look into the Japanese gaming market, which EGM is very, very famous for. The game of the month is Tecmo's Ninja Gaiden 2, of course. We're going to get into Gaming Express, which I think is a closer look at the Turbo Express. But, you know, Willie and I have two favorite segments here. One being the letters to the editor, which we get some really intelligent letters. And, of course, the reviews.
Great. So many great topics in those letters. And wonderful personalities.
The Genesis Turbo debate concludes. This is from our editor, Steve.
We're still going on about this?
I was just going to say, do you feel a little tired from this?
Has there been like 3 or 4 issues at least where they've been talking about this, or people writing in and complaining about like their bias towards one or the other?
Brother, this is like the Super Nintendo's not even out yet. So
yeah.
You just wait till that starts, and then it gets better. Like, you guys know I love it when the mid-90s, when all the consoles, I mean, we're 5 years away. This is still 1990 here. We'll get there, hopefully, one day. But yeah, this is just Genesis and Turbo. For some reason, NES has been taken out of the equation. I'm assuming because it's considered last-gen graphics, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Bat Stan, good to see you, mate.
But like, I don't know, Ninja Gaiden looked fantastic still.
Yeah.
Although a lot of the end of life NES games still looked really good.
A lot of them did, and a lot of them didn't sell. because, as you know, back in the day, it was all about the latest and greatest in graphics, and most of the population didn't want the old stuff. So that's where you got great stuff like Little Samson is a very famous rare NES game. It's a great game. It's a Mega Man clone. It's a great game by Taito, but it's also great. Or sorry, it's also really sought after because nobody bought it. Right, 1992 was a year after the Super Nintendo came out. So Mega Man 6 is another one. Like, not many people bought that one. Bat Stan is here.
Bat Stan.
Okay, I'm just gonna skim the editorial, then we'll get into it. So, which is better, the NEC TurboGrafx 16 or the Sega Genesis? That was a question we asked 4 issues ago. Again, we are in, I think, August or September 1990 here. And after careful evolution of both machines and the games we played, we picked our favorite. Wow, okay. Picking favorites is always a difficult task for any editor, since one side is perceived as a victor and the other the loser. This article was no different, and the consequences to our decision went far beyond normal boundaries. Oh, what did they pick? They picked Genesis, didn't they?
I think so, yep. Because of the variety in titles.
Okay, right. Yeah, I don't. Matt's saying, yeah, did they pick their favorite 4 months ago? I don't remember either that they did a firm stand on which was better. They obviously did. I think it was, yeah. Yeah, so 4 issues ago would have been, yeah, the big Genesis versus Turbo. They must have picked Genesis, I'm guessing. For the supporters of the TurboGrafx, the system that ranked behind the Genesis, there you go, in terms of play, appeal, and good game support when the article was written, the reaction was not warmly received, despite the fact that we stated our position clearly, indicating that great software can turn a system around. Several manufacturers withdrew their advertising and branding EGM as anti-TurboGrafx.
Wow.
Dude, that's crazy.
So that even further than just like actual viewer, like readership having an issue, it went with like the actual publishers. That seems extreme.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, even back then in the infancy of video game journalism, yeah, there was, money talks, right? And remember, I think we were saying that because I think one of the early issues was like almost all NES, and we're like, sponsored by Nintendo. We were joking around kind of thing, but yeah, that's crazy. Well, you got to give it to EGM for telling it how it is, at least in the early days.
Yeah, like sticking to their guns, not like backing down and bowing to the wishes of developers.
Yeah. Yeah. And back then it was very much where now it's like, for the most part, if you're into the hobby, if you want, you can save your money and you can pick an Xbox and a PlayStation, right? But back then, I think our gen, most of us were kids, right? So convincing your parents to get you one of these was a feat on its own, let alone having 2 of them, right? So, and I said this before, it's, if you spend like $300 or whatever it was on a Turbo, and the magazine that you buy says the Turbo is inferior, this is where maybe brand loyalty started in gaming, right? Because you feel like that's my hard-earned money, right? And you're like insulting my decision, you're insulting my choice. I can kind of see it. I don't think it's right, but I can see that point of view.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's definitely not right. But and I don't know. It still seems like a very childish mentality to me.
That's stupid. It's stupid. I knew dudes in high school that were they like this guy, and I won't name his name, but he was known as the Turbo guy, and then this other guy was known as the Sega guy, not Genesis, but the Sega guy. And I just remember being like, "Oh, what's your favorite?" I'm like, "Well, I like this on this system and this on this." Oh, you got to pick one. It was just like music, right? You got to pick your band. It seemed really dumb, but glad I learned that lesson early. All right. Letters to the editor. Why don't you start us off there, Big WillLo?
Well, let's go with the bias of Genesis again and talk about the Genesis CD-ROM.
Oh yeah, is that going to be a thing? You think? Oh my god.
Dun dun. I have purchased your magazine for a couple months now, and I think yours beats them all. I own a Genesis system, and I'm wondering if the rumors regarding a Genesis compatible CD player are true. It it is it. It is it? That literally says it is it. Why? Okay. I'd like to know more about it. Also, I wanted to say that all your colorful articles about the newest games and info are great in helping me pick the best games. Keep up the good work and keep adding more Genesis info and new game releases. Ed replies, well, we've heard rumors of the Genesis CD-ROM player for some time, even that it can also play turbo games.
Oh, come on. Come on.
The only peripheral that has been unveiled in Japan is a floppy disk system that works with the Genesis keyboard computer unit. Did I know there was a keyboard unit for the Genesis?
Well, they had that whole, like, the telegenesis modem back in the old message board days, man. But, like, just the word floppy disk to me just sounds awful. It does.
It's just the word floppy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brutal.
You don't like the word floppy?
Depends what context. Moving on.
Although a CD-ROM system is probably in the works, the wise leaders of Sega have privately told us that they do not intend to bring out a peripheral that costs more than the system itself. With current costs in mind, it will most likely be some time before we see anything like it. How much did the CD come out for? I remember it being pretty expensive.
I want to say $299. If the Genesis was $199, I'm going to say it was $100 more. The original Sega CD, the one where the Genesis went on top of it, that one was more expensive. And it looked more like a CD player when they brought out the second version of the Sega CD. That was more streamlined to go with the second Genesis. And all that together looks like a toy, like an action figure playset or something.
Yeah.
Packer says, for the life of me, I still cannot understand why we haven't simply removed the whole daylight savings nonsense. It's ridiculous, and it interferes with my hangover recovery. I don't know what it's all about. It doesn't have something to do with farming or something. I don't know, dude.
Something about that.
Something about that. If anybody knows, throw it out there. I'm not too sure, but I agree. The one that goes backwards, I don't mind. Yeah, but the one that goes forwards, I think hurts everybody for sure. I'm with you, buddy. You got to just drink more coffee. You got this.
I'm already almost out.
You're going to have to brew another one. The fantasy continues. By the way, that Genesis CD-ROM was from Randy Gould. So, What's up, Randy? I know you're watching.
Thanks, Randy.
Fantasy continues. I'm writing to ask a couple of questions and to make a couple of comments. First, I recently completed Phantasy Star 2, and it had a real cliffhanger ending. So I'm curious about Phantasy Star 3 and whether or not it will be within a year or what. I'm also curious about the Sword of Vermilion. Is it better than Phantasy Star? Unlikely. And when is it supposed to be released? Lastly, your article on the Neo Geo system made me wonder if this little gem would come to America. And if it does, what's the price? John Lawrence. Well, John, here at EGM Bootlegs, we'd like to thank you for your great letter. We're going to respond to that the best we know how. First of all, Sega will be unveiling the third installment of the Phantasy Star trilogy next January. This 6 meg plus battery sequel features a larger storyline, more great graphics, and even some nice extras like backgrounds in the battle sequences. Because if you guys remember, the battle scenes are like the green grid that I use, like the mask green grid. That's what the battle was, but I think it was blue and black. For a complete description and tons of photos on this hot new game, pick up our premiere issue of Mega Play, our all Sega magazine, now at the newsstand. It's a bunch of turbo haters. As far as the Sword of Vermilion is concerned, the new adventure RPG combines side-scrolling action with some first-person Whoa. RPG combines some side-scrolling action with some first-person sequences. First person was a terminology back then?
This might be
Dude,
like the first instance of it because they've mentioned different things before.
wasn't first person coined by the Romero brothers who made Wolfenstein and Doom?
Maybe. Those would have been out by now.
No. 1990? No, 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 no. Doom
When
2
the first
is...
Wolfenstein came out.
Yeah, can someone look that up? Or you will?
I feel like
Felix
Wolfenstein's
Gio.
been a while for a while.
Good morning, my man. Yeah, it's been a long time. Wonderful to see you. Welcome. Grab your coffee. Okay, so the term first person is used here. I thought that that was used because the term first person in first person shooter meant the screen's obviously your eyes in the first person, but I thought that was coined from Wolfenstein and Doom.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
I guess there's... Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Wolfenstein 3D was released on May 5th, 1992 for the DOS.
Right. So this is 90s still.
So
Crazy.
it's still pretty early then.
Huh. Matt says that is exactly right. The time the sun rises and sets changes each day of the year. So you have daylight savings time to align the sunrise around the same. Okay, so it is for the farmers. Yeah, perfect. Thanks, dude. Matt knows everything, I'm telling you. And Christoph says, I'm working over here.
Don't work too
You
hard.
got your coffee. Good stuff. Okay, anyway, sorry. That just kind of really took me off because that's today terminology that I didn't know existed back then.
Mhm.
Game's going to be 6 mega memory. The game is going to be Sega's big focus this fall, so expect an October in-store date. As far as the Neo Geo is concerned, there have been rumors that the system will be released in the US with, oh God. Okay, who wants to do conversion? $499 price tag. What is 499 US dollars in the year 1990? Can somebody do that real quick?
Lots of money.
But the real question is not the price of the machine, but the software. Yeah, they're $200 each. And that didn't change. That did not change. That was the elite system. You had to be like, there's like gamer back then there was like the Neo Geo was on a different level if you had that. All right. Well, that was a good article. Thanks, John Lawrence. Is it 1,000, Stanley, or are you just guessing? That sounds about right, though.
Like $1,000 back then?
So no, what would 499 be today, and from like 1990 to today? What would that translate to?
Oh, I see. With inflation and everything.
I'm
Okay,
guessing
yeah.
that would be like $1,000. Yeah, it's a guess. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. The Neo Geo was like crazy expensive, but anyway. All right, you're up, buddy. Thanks, John. That was a great letter.
This one's just too funky to read.
What the two MMC?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Okay, let's find out, I guess. To MMC or not to MMC? Your magazine is by far the most intelligently written video game publication. You really cover every aspect of video gaming thoroughly, and it's always interesting. They're like, anyways, don't.
You got it. You're good. Hold the line. Hold the line.
It beats Time and Newsweek any day. Ooh, Time magazine too? Wow. Now that I've buttered you up, I'd like to know more about the new memory mapping chips in the NES games. The NES games are much better now thanks to this technology. Can you please keep us informed on upcoming NES games that will employ the MMC3, MMC5, and MMC6? Freaking nerd. True arcade-like graphics will be great on the NES, and I can't wait to hear more about these games.
You're not going to get arcade graphics on the NES. SAE,
Yeah.
whoever you are.
Thanks, see. We got Ed coming in talking about the MMC stuff. So, okay,
No, that's the editor. It's not Steve still. It just means editor.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry. You think I'd realize this by now?
Nerd. You journalist nerd.
The advanced MMC technology that Nintendo was unveiling does appear to be adding to the games we play. For more rumors on what the MMC 5 capabilities are, check out Quartermain's column. Ooh. Currently, however, many games appearing are going to a MMC3 chip. Some of the titles that are supposedly using the MMC5 include HAL America's Lolo 3, Jay's favorite, and Konami's Crime Fighters.
Mm. You're right, dude. I didn't understand or really hear anything you just said. All I heard was MMC, MC5, MC Hammer. I'm like, oh,
It
okay.
was a lot of like technical stuff without any like really good explanation about it. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh, memory mapping chips.
Well, it
Cool.
sounds like, someone has an NES and they don't want to shell out for the next gen. So holding out hope that, and graphics did get better on the NES for sure, but holding out hope that there might be a new chip to allow the NES to play like Genesis quality or turbo quality at the time. It's not going to happen. Matt Rubin says $1,200.08. Or sorry, 1208.07. Canadian
Hmm.
school. You're right. Math, English, forget about it.
That's why we're here on the internet.
The name game. I have a question that many other people probably have. Why can't Sunsoft 16-bit Batman be released in the US?
What?
How did Sega get the permission to release Double Dragon for the Master System? Why does TurboGrafx have Sega's Fantasy Zone and Space Harrier? Is Nintendo afraid that if the 16-bit Batman shows up, everybody will stop buying their Batman? Come to think of it, that's probably the reason. And then he almost just didn't mail it in because he answered his own question. Hey, Mike Catalingus, thanks for the old letter there, Buster. I don't know if I can read that. Oh, okay. Oh God. Oh, yeah. My screen's. Hang on.
You got it? You're okay? Your screen's better than mine.
Kind of. It's almost cut off. There we go. It's not so much a question of whether or not Sunsoft or Nintendo want to release a 16 version of Batman. The contractual obligation that are made in many deals to secure the hot license like Batman. Also, Nintendo standards contracts prohibit the development of game software on competing formats until after a 2-year clause has passed. While this may seem unfair, it unfortunately is part of the business of Nintendo Land. Yeah, sure. Well, we did get Sunsoft's Batman. We even got the Japanese. The PC Engine got a Batman game too. That was kind of like Bomberman, kind of a Bomberman view.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Let's move on here. What do Pat Riley, Tommy Lasorda, and Arnold Palmer all have in common, Will?
What?
They're on the Genesis. Din, 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 din. They all play ball with Genesis.
Yay! Was I supposed to
They
say
all play
yay?
ball with Genesis. I always thought it was fascinating that Tommy Lasorda was the first baseball game, and he's a coach. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, Arnold
Mm-hmm.
Palmer's a player. Even Pat Riley's a coach. So we didn't have no disrespect to Arnold Palmer, but in baseball and basketball, we didn't have the licensed athletes yet. We weren't quite there. We're close, but that's it for the editors.
That's quick.
That's it. Let's find out what the review crew has been up to. So, Steve, this path, let's find out what the review crew has been up to. This month, Steve has been concentrating on a load of new Mega Drive games from Japan. Also, high on his list is Narc, after Afterburner 2 and Double Dragon for Game Boy.
Great.
Good morning, Cutthroat. And your boy Ed.
Ed. Oh, Ed.
What's Ed saying this month?
In anticipation of the CES show in Chicago, Ed
Gaga.
is currently blasting his way through prototype copies of Super Monaco GP, great game, and Splatterhouse for Turbo, another amazing game. I remember really liking Super Monaco GP. That was the race, bike racing game. Motorbikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christoph says, Willie, you have the voice like a radio man. Jay, like a rock singer. Positively. Oh, thanks, buddy.
Oh, so I can promote Jay for his concerts and shows.
No, you get the compliment. There was just nothing you could say. It's like, Will, you have a smooth baritone voice. It's very soothing. Jay, you sound like a nasally 8th grader. I mean, wait, no. So you're rock guy. Yeah. I'm kidding, of course. Thank you for the compliment.
Thanks, Christoph. That means a lot. That's so nice.
We were all hating on Ed the Hater, and look at the scores he gave the first 2 games, Matt says.
Well, these games are 2 amazing titles, to be fair.
100%. Tecmo and Capcom at the height of what they did, even back then. All right, 9. Ninja Gaiden 2 is the game of the month. Everybody knows what Ninja Gaiden is. We'll quickly read the description on the AAA titles. The sequel to the smash hit of 1989 finally hits the NES. Ninja Gaiden continues the adventures of Ryu Hayabusa as he works to destroy and rescue the pretty Irene. A new master of darkness, Ashtar, has resurrected the dead armies of Jakku and plans to take over the world with a new sword of chaos.
Dun, dun.
New intermissions, cutscenes, hello. Characters and storylines complement action familiar to Ninja Gaiden fans. And with that being said, Steve gives it a 9 out of 10. Here's a question for you, Will, and the chat. Do you guys remember the very first game that EGM gave a 10? There's a little bit. You guys think about that. Don't look it up. Just think about it. I don't. There's 2 I know that they
Mario
did.
Brothers 3?
I think, yes. I think it was that and Ocarina, I think. Those 2. Ninja Gaiden 2 lives up to its predecessor in gameplay and surpasses it in graphics and cutscenes. Part 2 has more levels, different environments, and an all-new Shadow Ninjas. Although some power-ups are missing, the game is great from beginning to end. Awesome.
Good game.
I mean, I agree. The game's almost perfect. It's
better than the first one.
Yeah.
I love the first one, but the second one is just incredible.
It's like Mega Man 1 and Mega Man 2. I think it's very similar. Mega Man 1 is great, but you could see where you can improve it a lot. Boom. 2 is the perfect Mega Man game. I think this is the perfect Ninja Gaiden. Anyway.
100% agree. Probably the best sequel ever made with near perfect graphics, challenging gameplay, and intermissions. I hate that word.
Cutscenes.
Cutscenes. See, that makes sense to me. Oh, because that's what we use the terminology now. But intermissions sound so old timey, like you're going to a play. Oh, we've got an intermission. Everyone, go to the washroom. Have your break. We'll come back.
That would also imply that during those story elements, you just get up and like go to the bathroom. It's like, no, you can watch those. But
yeah. Which entice you to always go round further. Go round further. I think a round further is what he meant. Other than the difficult gameplay in higher levels, Ninja Gaiden 2 is as good an action game can get. As good an action game can get. There we go. Okay. We've talked about some of their like grammar in these. They do cut it short and like abbreviate things a little weird sometimes, but sometimes it just doesn't flow.
And this is our first issue with the brighter score, the number, which is nice to look at, but it's harder to read. It's definitely harder to read with the bright red. Intermissions are boring and stinky play, Cutthroat says. Stanley, you got to start a friggin' YouTube channel and do 2600 ET streams 24/7. Come on, I dare you. I dare you to do it. Steve Harris is the editor. Okay, Rescue Rangers by Capcom. Rescue Rangers teams up with Chip and Dale Who did you know are based off of Indiana Jones and Magnum PI? Did you know that?
I didn't, but that makes sense.
I only found this out like a couple years ago. Um, multi-scrolling action adventure. Either one or two players cooperate. See co-op. See, we got to put in our lingo here. Either one or two players cooperate or compete simultaneously for bonus items as our heroes look to survive while rescuing the main girl, Gadget. Like previous Disney titles for the NES, this Capcom game offers the best graphics and gameplay for both young and old players like Will. There you go. 7. So Steve says, every part of this game, from the graphics to the sound of the gameplay, is well done indeed. Rescue Rangers only falls flat in terms of challenge and difficulty. Like the other Disney games, Capcom has hurt a great cart by making it too easy. A great package that ends too easy. Yeah, I mean, we really didn't have difficulty levels, did we? Back then, it was just like that was the
Not
game.
really.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
Seven.
I can't think of an actual like difficulty setting.
I can't agree with that. 7 is criminally low. Even though I don't,
Steve the hater this month.
I'm not a big Disney fan, but this game is incredible. Same with DuckTales. I'm not a huge DuckTales fan in terms of the show, but that game is like God.
Yeah, the DuckTales game is fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Ed loves it though. 9 out of 10. That's pretty high for Ed.
It is.
As a player's game, Rescue Rangers is outstanding because of its true to Disney animation and good control. The gameplay is challenging and proves to be more difficult than of previous Disney entries from Capcom, and should prove appealing to those who can get past the kiddie theme. Is it really a kiddie theme, like much more than any other like platforming title though? Not really.
Yeah, it was specifically based off a children's cartoon. So
yeah, but like if you were put that up to like another game like Mario or anything, is it really like a kiddie? I don't know. I don't really see them as kiddie games. You know what I mean? Like when I think of kiddie games, like I would think like Sesame Street,
like the alphabet, number learning games, kind of things. Yeah. I don't know. I agree. I think it's based off a children's cartoon, and back then it wasn't. There was no. I don't want to say this and be incorrect. It's just kind of what I think. Okay, so this is not fact.
Yeah,
but there wasn't really an adult target audience for this kind of stuff. I think all this stuff was made more or less for kids until you get until like the Sega CD and that when you started to have stuff like Night Trap. I don't know, man. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was like, oh, this game's for an adult, this game's for kids. I think everything was supposed to be for kids. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. Matt says it was aimed at little kids, though. The ones the cartoon was aimed at. Of course, it was easy. It was too hard for casual kids wouldn't play. Yeah, exactly. I would agree with that. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And there's our ad. There's a beautiful Tecmo ad. Ninja Gaiden 1, 2. Bad News Baseball, World Wrestling, which I don't think I ever played in. Tecmo Bowl is legendary. If you guys have never played Tecmo Bowl, it doesn't even matter if you like football. It matters a little bit, maybe, but that game is so good. Better than the arcade. I'll stick by that.
I never played the arcade one, so I can't really compare. But I remember playing a lot of Tekken Bowl with my cousins.
The arcade Tecmo Bowl was one of those dual monitor side by side games. It's like gigantic.
Really? That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Bigfoot of part of the Power Team. You guys know the Power Team from Video Power, right? Right?
I try to forget them.
Well, Bigfoot was one of the characters. Yeah, I don't like. Let's get back to that difficulty a little bit. I don't like if a game is super easy. does it make it less enjoyable for you?
No, I don't think so.
And now I don't. The video game culture is so different now, where like you take a game like I play Resident Evil a lot, and you just beat it over and over again. I think back then, in this era specifically, it was like you beat it, and then what? Then it's done, right? I mean, that's the point of it. There wasn't that. Well, let's try and beat it and see if we can do it with this challenge. Do you know what I mean? I think it was just like you kind of beat it and put it away. So maybe if you bought it as a parent for $59 or whatever it was, and your kid beat it in like 2 hours, maybe that's the big negative. I don't know.
Maybe.
Acclaim is not one of my favorite companies, guys. They do a lot of ports of Midway games. They're just really cheap. The ports are not that great. They're just not my favorite. But this game got a 4 from Steve. Bigfoot really disappointed me. I was a fan of Power Drive in the arcades, which this approximates, but even with a dozen rounds to play, levels to play, and multiple events, I finished this cart the first time I played it. There are some near races, but nothing spectacular. What does that mean? There are some near races.
Some near races.
So mean, man.
Near races.
There are some close races. There are some far races, fear races. I don't friggin' know. Dude, I don't know. I don't know. So 4, I mean, I played this. It's not good. I would give it like a 0. But that's me.
That bad?
It uses the A and B back and forth to...
What was that? There was that Atari drag race game that had that too, didn't it, or something?
Dragster.
Dragster, that's right.
Remember we played that at Sid's?
Yeah.
It just used the stick. You would hit the button to start the engine, then you would hit the stick as the throttle.
Yeah,
but it was the same. It was the same kind of power meter thing. Yeah.
Let's see. Ed says a decent game that is hurt by a lack of challenge and difficulty. Most players will breeze through the game in a short time. Okay. The graphics are adequate, but not spectacular, and the events, although varied, aren't challenging enough to hold interest. 5.
Cutthroat, I hate to actually you, my friend, but I feel like it's my duty. Actually, Acclaim translated it on the NES, but Narc is made by Midway. Actually, thank you very much.
Actually,
Image Flight from Ireme. Yeah, this was a weird one where my buddy, this was the first bootleg cart that I was ever kind of around. He had this blue cartridge with a ribbon on it. You guys remember these? And it had Image Fight, and I always thought it was called Image Flight, but it's Image Fight. That's where I played Image Fight. Top-down shooters on the NES were not my thing. After playing things like Truxton on Genesis, Thunder Force, and Blazing Lasers on the TurboGrafx, it's hard to go back to the NES, even though there's great stuff like Gun Knack, which is like the spiritual successor to Blazing Lasers. The NES just can't hold all the different graphics on the screen, and you get a lot of screen flicker. I mean, in Blazing Lasers, you're getting slowdown in that. Imagine what the NES would do, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't work too great. 7. While the graphics and image fights are not the best I've seen on the NES, they do provide a decent backdrop for the action. Plenty of power-ups, lots of targets, and the big bad bosses are a must for any good shooter. However, read that last sentence.
I'm talking about this big mass for any good shooter, however, and this game has it.
Oh, is that right? Okay, I'm just
no, there shouldn't be that and.
Okay,
it should be just like must. Bosses are a must for any shooter. However,
and this
game has it. Yeah, and this game has it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's just weird. I don't know.
More EGM lingo. Or maybe it's the Canadian educational system, as JT points out. Who knows? We'll never
Could be.
know. We'll never know. Okay, 7. You're up.
Ed loved this game. He gave it an 8. An unbelievably intense game for the NES. The action is non-stop with a large number of levels. As you proceed, the game remains challenging and visually different. With the addition of power-ups, the game holds interest and becomes more playable.
It's like there should be more. It just stops.
Well, they only got this little box to work with. They only can do so much.
Narc. Narc. One of the earliest examples of digitized graphics that I would know and love so much. This was a bold move to bring a game of such high graphical detail onto a system that could barely hold it, but they did it anyway, and it's pretty damn good. Narc on NES is pretty good. Not only that, there was the Say No to Drugs stuff that was getting very big in the late 80s and early 90s. And Nintendo was not known for adult-themed games like this. So a lot of stuff is toned down. There's no blood in this. I don't think it's drugs. I think it's like bags of candy or something else like that. But it's a little bit toned down. The NES port gets a 7 from Steve. See, here you go. I miss the blood and guts of the arcade original, but even with them absent, Narc is a bold and daring title for the NES. Beyond the graphics, which are merely all right, you're still left with a good action shooter. Just don't expect great graphics.
Them graphics. What is Ed saying here? A graphically unexciting game. Wow.
Ed the hater's back, baby.
With stick-type figures and significant screen flicker, those expecting gameplay similar to the arcade will not be disappointed. However, the lack of attention to the graphics in the arcade is a major problem in design. But the game plays well, it sounds like. I don't know. You have to come to some kind of expectation that the NES is not going to be able to do arcade-perfect ports.
I knew that back then, dude. I thought it was just friggin' cool that you could play Narc at home. It was like when Street Fighter 2 came to the Super Nintendo. It was like, oh my God, I could play Street Fighter in my house. That was one of the most exciting moments I've ever had buying a game, because the Street Fighter was red hot. It was my favorite game, like everyone else at that time. And the fact that you could just play it in your house blew my mind. It was just like hours. I'm going to train as Blanca today. I'm going to train as whoever, Dulcim or whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's to be expected. Check out Narc if you haven't on NES, though, guys. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty
This
good.
one, not so bad. Not so bad. Bloody Wolf. Yes. The Contra-ish top-down shooter. Made by NEC. 7 from Steve. Bloody Wolf is a cool commando-style shooter that combines a frantic shoot-'em-up pace with dual goals. The graphics are the standard turbo quality, and options increase in different bunkers where motorcycles and power-ups can be collected.
I think I've seen that one in stores, but I never actually picked it up.
Bloody Wolf is one of those must-have games for the turbo. So put it on your list for our game.
When we go hunting?
Yeah. It's great, man. It's 2 players, too. Yeah, it's awesome.
Bloody Wolf.
Think of Contra just like with a 3/4 top down. It's great. BX says, or playing Turtles on the arcade on NES. Yeah, I mean, graphically, obviously, it wasn't like the arcade, but it was still great that you could play that.
It played well. It was fun to play with like others. Yeah, it was a great game.
Yeah.
I had I messaged one of our local like retro stores lately because they were showing some pictures of finds they have. So I don't have a copy of Final Fantasy IV on Super Nintendo. So they had one come in, and I was like, "Well, what's the price on that?" But I called it 4. But in the US, it's called 2.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "Oh, we don't have any copies of 4 in." I was like,
"You were being the elite gamer. I get it."
I felt bad because I didn't realize it. It was just like that's what I've called it for so long now. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we don't have that." And then
You're
I
like,
was like, "Oh,
you're like, all right, I'll speak in layman terms.
I didn't realize it though, because I was like, oh, I just saw your picture of it of Final Fantasy on there. He's like, oh yeah, we've got 2 and 6 that came in, and I was sorry, it's 3 that came in, and I was like, oh right,
You mean 6?
yeah.
Yeah.
In North America, the naming's on that's wrong, and then I realized like I'm getting old because like these are probably young kids working in this store that don't have a clue anymore.
No, and you can know your gaming history, I think, up to a certain point. But unless you've really lived through that, you know what
Hmm.
I mean? Like you can only study so much.
Yeah,
So I
and I
get it.
don't blame them for it, but it was
Yeah.
just like a moment where I was like, ah, damn it.
And 5, I want to talk about 5. 5 is so great because it had the blue mage. You guys remember the blue
Yep.
mage? 5, wonderful time when the PS1 was out. Square released all the originals and all the Japanese Final Fantasies that we never got here. They finally put them out. It wasn't an Origins. It was what, the anthology that 5 came in, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I need the blue mage. That was great. Great
Yeah,
stuff.
they had like one that was like the Final Fantasy Chronicles, and then they had Final Fantasy Origins, I think, on the PlayStation 1.
Origins was 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Well, 2 we never got. 5 we never got. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 1, 4, and 6.
Yes.
Yeah. So we
Yeah.
never got 2, 3, and 5 over here.
Right.
But yeah, the naming messes up because technically our Final Fantasy 2 is the Final Fantasy 4, and yeah. Anyways,
Yeah, good stuff. And congrats on the you finally getting your rebirth from the clutches of the evil
I know, freaking took forever.
order or whatever it was held up in.
They charged me another $80 for duties
Oh yeah,
on it.
dude. Yep. We were talking about this the other day. This is why I don't really shop at Big Bad Toy Store anymore, because I get dinged with the duty fees, which that's the way it is. But yeah, like if I buy a figure, dude, that's over $50, boom, there's like another 20 or $30. So
Yeah, it's insane. I think I may start seeing like with my sister-in-law living in the US, maybe seeing if I can have like stuff maybe sent to her. And be
yeah.
like, when we come and visit, then I'll just like take it back with me.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad idea at all, right? It's some people, I know some people like toy guys that have PO boxes in just in Michigan though, right? They just go over to Port Huron and they get stuff sent to their PO box.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And they go and just pick it up and bring it over. Yeah. Okay, you're up with Ed the Hater.
Head's not really hating a whole lot this issue, honestly.
Disappointing, I know.
Man. An excellent shooter for the turbo. Player control is good. The action is constant and is guaranteed to push players to their limits. The graphics are on the gory side, although toned down from the original version. Not easy, but good variety in goals. What?
I think they mean that there's multiple objectives in each level. I think.
I
Yeah.
guess.
7's pretty, I don't know, that's above average, but that's still pretty low, I think. I think Bloody Wolf's a lot better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Double Dungeons I never played. This game did not appeal to me. One of my favorite RPGs is the first Phantasy Star, but that game has like the first person dungeon segments to me are almost unplayable because you get lost. They've rectified that with the one that's on the Switch now, but I didn't like the first person dungeon crawlers back in the day, so I never wanted to play this one whatsoever. Steve gave it a 4. Do you have this one?
I don't have this one.
No.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Remember, you said to add it to the list.
Double Dungeons, no Bloody Wolf.
Oh, sorry, Bloody Wolf. Yeah, no, no, I've never even heard of this one. It just makes me want to say Double Dragon, not Double Dungeons.
Double Dungeons, yeah. This is nothing more than a boring maze game that's played in the first person perspective. You wander around, kill creatures when they appear, and try to locate different objects. The 2-player split screen is nice, but but for the most part, it's repetitive and boring. Amen. I agree.
Yeah.
Christoph wants to know, Willie, do you work? Do you work on the radio?
I do not. Yep, quick answer.
Well, it's an answer. Four
yeah.
from Steve.
No radio work, just Twitch and YouTube. And my other job doesn't really require much like reading or anything. Thank you, though. Where are we? A good but not inspiring adventure game. For those who like to wander around like a mouse in a maze, this is good. But that's about all this title is without variety. It's not an RPG, and you'll get tired of the repetition, except for in the 2-player combo mode.
Co-op.
I'm reading it as it is. It says combo mode.
No, I'm not correcting you. I'm correcting the old school terminology.
Hey, combo mode.
Oh, God.
Hey, Jay, you want me to come over and we can play some combo mode?
I don't know what Curse is. I have no idea what this game is.
Looks like another like R-type, Gradius type game.
An alien armada invades Earth, and it's up to you to push the invaders back. Okay, so it's a shooter by INTV. INTV. Never heard of this. 8. I enjoy Curse tremendously, even though the graphics when the ship shoots leave a lot to be desired. The action is intense beyond description. There's always a lot of activity on the screen, and the different bosses and power-ups are new appealing.
New appealing.
Okay, so Matt says I said the same thing, and I'm reading this nice on my big screen. So Matt's reading along with us. Yeah, so it's not... Again, you guys can, in the description of the live stream, there's the link to Retro Mags where I get these, and you can read along. It's not just us. I mean, my reading's not so great over here, but it's not just us.
Yeah, sometimes it's us, but a lot of it just doesn't flow very well.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, Ed has a tendency to do this, which is weird. He starts off very highly about it, but like the review says a 7. But like he starts this out as an outstanding shooter that shows off the Genesis.
Right.
Does that make it sound like a 7 out of 10 game?
Well, the word outstanding is not a 7. No. Yeah.
But he does this regularly. It kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
Beautifully detailed background graphics with little flicker. Very intense at times with massive amounts of enemy fire that become almost overwhelming. A good shooter, well designed for the Genesis.
Yeah. So, yeah, the word outstanding would be, I would say, at least an 8 for that. But I'm going to look this one up because I've never heard of Well, if you know what, when I see the box art, I'll probably be like, oh, that one.
You're like, I've looked over that so many times, and now I want it.
Yeah, the name doesn't sound familiar. I don't know, though. It's outstanding, but it's only a 7. Matt says, I just found out what Willie's other job is yesterday. Much respect.
Oh, thanks, man.
Rolando, what's going on, mate? Hello. Welcome in. Cheers to you. Happy Sunday. Matt says, think about it, though. When we talk about games and say... Double, it's automatically Double Dragon. They should have named the game better. Oh, Double Dungeons, yeah. I think they wanted to throw in the title, they wanted you to know that it was like co-op, but yeah, it could have been named something better for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Shane, what's going on? The Captain N jacket rocks. Thank you. It's from Bull Airs, one of my sponsors for the channel. So check out Bull Airs. You can get all kinds of pop culture cool stuff. Yeah, so 7-8 Curse. I want to look that up. Target Earth. For those of you who don't know what Target Earth is, it is one of the most brutal shooters on the Genesis. It's extremely hard. The graphics and the enemies for this game, they always reminded me of Robotech, which is why I really gravitated towards it.
Mm-hmm.
But upon playing it, I realized it's just way too hard. It's not fun. Try it if you dare. That's what I have to say. So Steve gives it a 6. It's made by DreamWorks. Target Earth has some appealing qualities, but the movement of your character is slow in some respects. The attacks fill the screen and eventually become too much to fight off. The game is way too difficult. Oh, wait a second. We go from Chippendales to this. Don't be a wimp. Come on.
Yeah.
The game is way too difficult, and only a few will see the higher levels. Well, I mean, yeah, there you go. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? 6.
Ed gives it. Ed's on like a good mood this week, this month.
I don't like it. It's bumming. It's really bumming me out.
You give it a 7. We've got this game would have received a much higher rating, but the difficulty is too high for any normal human. Not just anybody, just only humans. This is unfortunate as the best scenes start to appear in the middle of the game. The control and play is unique and adds to the challenge.
Have you played this one?
I've never even heard of this one. No.
Worth it just for the box art. The box art is fantastic in this game. But yeah, I wouldn't put it on your list though. Not needed. Packer says Target Earth is the Atari ET of first-person shooters. Pretty much. Christoph J likes rock. Noticed, I bet you can play drums and guitar. You're exactly right.
Yeah, he pegged you right to the T.
Yeah, man, for sure. 3 a.m. What is up? Hello. Hello.
Hello. Welcome on in.
Double Dragon by Trade West. 7 on the Game Boy. I think that's pretty respectable. And this looks like it's a port almost of the NES one. Game Boy Double Dragon gets a 7 from Steve. Game Boy Double Dragon is nearly perfect version of the classic coin-op. The graphics are good. The play is identical to previous versions, and the detail in the backgrounds is retained. Good action title that does complete justice to the title. 7. I see the way he describes it. It should like an 8 or 9, man.
It still feels more positive. Yeah, it's definitely like a game that's hampered being on the Game Boy. Like the Game Boy had so many limitations compared to the other consoles, right? So I can understand me undervaluing it comparatively, but
yeah.
I can't remember what they gave the original Double Dragon on NES though.
I think it got slammed because it's called Double Dragon and there was no 2-player. Remember, I think that was the main detriment to that. Yeah, 7. 7's all around. It looks like.
You got a question coming in from 3 a.m.
What's this stream about? I'm late as always. Oh, so every Sunday morning, Will and I like to have our coffee, and we take a trip down memory lane. It's usually on Sunday video game related. So we like to go through this old magazine called Electronic Gaming Monthly that we grew up with. And we just kind of reminisce, hang out with the chat, look at scores of old, talk about news from back in the day. And, sometimes Will and I will watch an old video game movie. But I think the EGMs are the bread and butter of this show for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's mainly just the review of older magazine publications. But we watch like older retro movies, review them together with others, or sometimes we play games together too. We did some Fortnite episodes.
Yeah, and then Will left because he's too cool. He's too cool. I'm just saying. He's got a dirty, empty sleeping bag just lying there in 7 Days to Die on another server. That's how far behind he is. But hey, I'm not.
I feel like if I would jump in now, I'm just gonna be so far behind all of you now.
So far behind. What do you mean? It's just shoot things. What do you want?
Yeah, but what day are you guys on now on the new server?
Like
100 and something?
152 or something like that.
That's a long way.
Dude, it's a private server. It doesn't matter. You can come in anytime you want.
So she said, but yeah.
Oh my god, I don't have that clip ready. Do that to me. Oh my god, this is awesome actually. New subscriber. That's morning coffee you made. Poll about that then. Yeah. Oh, that's great, 3 a.m. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, so morning coffee is just what I call the morning show. that I streams. You know, a lot of times it's about toys, a lot of times it's about video games, but specifically on Sunday, it's fellow streamer Willie and I, and we do that. So that's what you can count on every Sunday. There you go. We're on Slime World for the Atari Lynx. Will, I can't remember. You never had a Lynx?
No, I only found about the Lynx maybe like 10 years ago. I didn't even know it was a thing.
Wow. There you go. Yeah. I would say it's worth getting to have in the museum collection, but it's not something you're going to play anymore. My buddy had this. The Lynx was great in concept, but again, Slime World games like this were just okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we could see that Steve didn't like it, giving Slime World a 5. And this was also, I should say, made by Atari.
Steve the hater this month.
He is. Low scores from Steve. Slime World shows a lot of potential early on, especially in the graphics development and detail on the Lynx. While the game succeeds in looks, it lacks in gameplay and sound. The music is grating. Music is grating, and while there's a lot to explore, it's never much fun. 5. See, now that sounds like below, because 5 would be average, right? This sounds like it should be a 4. Come on, guys, get it together.
Yeah. Like 5 would be midlining, right? That's the issue with a lot of these like publications. Even today, you know, like the standard for a lot of people, if it's like below 8, they're like, oh, it's garbage. I'm not going to play this. It's not worth my time. You can have a lot of fun with a game that's rated like 60, 70%. Like you still get your money's worth out of it. They don't all have to be like groundbreaking and set like standards. They can just be competent games and still have a lot of fun with them.
That's an interesting topic, my friend. That should be a whole podcast, because that's something I've been saying for years now. With music, video games, and movies / TV. When did it become a thing that, let's use Dial of Destiny, okay? A movie that you and I went together to go see last summer. When did it become that the newest entry in the series has to top the one before it? When did that become a thing, right? Do you know what I mean? Like what you said there, it's like Dial of Destiny, it came out, and one of the first things that everyone was saying was, well, it's not as good as Raiders. It's not as good as Last Crusade or whatever. It's like, so what? Like, why does it have to constantly beat it? So there's these unattainable objectives. You know what I mean? Everything gets more difficult, more difficult. It's impossible.
Yeah. And that's something that's like not even that. But if you take it to a business standpoint, a lot of businesses run the same way too, right? So like say this year you had an annual, like a revenue, like a profit of $10 million. Great. You know, that you're not like a super large company, but $10 million profit, meaning you paid off all your expenses and you still had 10 million extra is great. But then what they usually do is like, oh, next year we have to make 10, 15% more than that. So you're still having that 10 million profit, but now you want to hit like, what would that be? Almost $12 million instead. So an extra $2 million on top. Yeah. You're like, well, but you still made money. You're still doing very well, but now you're setting these lofty expectations. And if you keep doing that annually every year, you're just never going to hit those goals. And there's a company that does that now, which is Square Enix. I don't know if you've watched a lot of Square Enix's stuff.
No.
They have unrealistic expectations for sales of games. Example wise, like I know you weren't hot on Final Fantasy 16, but it sold pretty well, over 3 million copies. Sure. But their expectation, because they are a Final Fantasy title, is they wanted to have like 7 million copies sold.
Well, I mean, and sorry guys, we're not trying to go off the rails here, but this is just
this is fun topic.
Talking. When you change the core gameplay so much, you're going to lose a lot of your fan base.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, other games don't really, there's not very many games that reach that level of sales, but they're still widely successful, right? Like, you think about it, at the price that they're selling games now, you sell 1 million copies at something at, we'll just say $100 a pop, right? That's $100 million, right? So keep going up from there, plus other things that go in it as well. But yeah, like it just seems kind of absurd.
Yeah, Will and I worked for a little independent company for many years called GameStop, and this is like the pinnacle of that. And anyone who works retail will understand this. They had 10 to 12, give or take, daily goals that the store manager was in charge for. So you had to make sure that all your staff of that day were hitting all these targets. If you hit the targets, which was impossible, if you hit every target, the next day it was like, oh great, you hit your goal of 8 warranties. Now, just like Will said, okay, now hit 10. It's not like, good job, hit 8 again because we're making profit. Nope. It's like, except GameStop was ridiculous because it was like double it. Now double it. Right. But this notion that something has to be better than the thing before it, I think is ridiculous. One more example and then we'll move on. Like Star Wars is a perfect example. It's not as good as Empire. How many times do you hear that? It's not Empire Strikes Back. It's not Empire Strikes Back. Well, no crap, it's not Empire Strikes Back. That's like the first Ghostbusters. It's like lightning in a bottle. It can't be better than it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's silly.
It's so dumb. I don't even know what we were talking about, how this spiraled off, but Prime World, Double Dragon, something, I don't know. But
well, that's the great thing about these shows is just things spur our minds and we just go off on
I
tangents.
like that. But oh, you said it. Yeah, it's like, and I think Matt said it in the chat too. It's like, why can't a game just be good for the sake of being a good game? Like
That's right. That's what we were talking about. Yeah.
again, like a Resident Evil game, right? Like each Resident Evil game has its own flavor, and although it's kind of the same, it's kind of not the same. And you can judge every Resident Evil because they really have their own flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, 4 is not like 1, but they're both enjoyable. That's a series where it's like, well, it's not as good as 1, but it doesn't have to be because it's completely different. I like the way Resident Evil is in terms of its sequels, how each one is so different, and therefore most people don't really do that for it. I think just mentally, us as gamers, movie fans, music fans, we have to just look at something as a piece of art instead of like having to have it better than the thing that came before it, because you're making unrealistic expectations for creators. There's no way they're going to be able to top that and continue that. Does that make sense?
100%. Speaking of Capcom, we're just gonna. I wanted to bring this up earlier because we were talking about Capcom because they had the Rescue Rangers, but I don't know if anybody saw it. But I feel like a lot more people should applaud Capcom for what they've recently done. Is that they've been recognizing that they've been doing very well as a company, and instead of like just pocketing the profits, they've actually went out and made a statement in Japan, anyways, where they're actually increasing salaries of everyone in the company by 25%.
Oh, that's amazing! I didn't know that. That's
amazing. Yeah, they went out and they said, like, you know, we're doing really well. We want our workers to be awarded for helping the company get to where it is, so they're increasing salary bases. And I was like, that's cool. Like, instead of cutting, like where every other developer right now seems to be cutting and firing people to make cut costs, Capcom's out there like raising money and be like, no, we're keeping our people here and making them happy because they're making us money.
Right. Well, let's keep going here. I'm going to highlight some comments. You want to? I feel like I read all the comments. I'm going to give you some comments to read. I'll highlight them here.
Oh, these ones. Okay. Yeah, Matt Rubin says, look at Hasbro. Hasbro made a profit but didn't meet their expectations and now are laying off people left and right. 100%, right? That's what happens. And it's not even like these are goals they need to make the company stay running. It's just they didn't make as much money as they wanted. So now the people that work for them to make that money are the ones that suffer.
Yes. 3 a.m. says, I grew up with Squaresoft games since Final Fantasy and Legend of Dragoon, but now they abandoned the RPG style, unfortunately. Well, they abandoned the turn-based, right? They're more like...
Yeah. They're action RPGs is what they're more labeled as now. And I can see where it turns off some people for that for sure. But like, unfortunately, like the turn-based RPG just has become more of a niche market than what it used to be, and it doesn't entice a bigger audience anymore.
Yeah, so 3 a.m. I'm with you on this. I prefer the turn base.
Yep.
Final Fantasy 16, I think, was a wonderful story, beautiful game, but the combat was so exhausting for me, and I didn't enjoy it. And I think unfortunately, Final Fantasy 7 is the same way. But like Will said, it's they got to change it up, right? It's like Resident Evil again. You know how we had the tank controls, and then they completely changed the controls for 4, and everyone was kind of like, "Oh my god, they changed it!" But then you realize that hey, it's actually pretty good. I just
Hmm.
personally don't like that style.
That's
Curb
fine.
Stomp, shout out to you, buddy. Good to see you. There you go. You can read that one.
3 a.m. Bach says, it is understandable they want money since they are not a charity, but the problem is they're putting money above anything else, even the identity of the game itself. They will make comedy RE, like a
Well,
comedic
they'll do
Resident
whatever
Evil.
it takes to sell. I think is what he's
Oh,
saying.
okay.
They'll do whatever it takes to sell a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. There's shareholders they have to answer to, and I understand the 5 or 6 people in charge want to have a Lamborghini for every day of the week. I get that, I do, but it's a mindset where it's just like obviously I'm not in that position, but it's like how much money is enough money? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I guess I don't get greed on that scale. It doesn't make sense to me. So to say that Dial of Destiny was a failure, even though it made back its money plus some, makes no sense to me. If it didn't hit your projections, it didn't hit your projections, but that doesn't mean it's a failure, right?
Mhm.
Right? Really? Look how many people bought Persona 3 Reload. Millions sold on the first day of release. Enough sold that they are re implementing DLC they didn't think they could do due to tech issues.
Yeah. Like the Persona stuff does well, but how many of like in general nowadays the turn-based RPG market is not very strong compared to other things. It's coming back, but I would say over the last I would say from probably the heyday for it was what PS1, PS2, PS3, like 360 era to Xbox One, there was a real downslope. Like nobody was really buying turn-based RPGs. And then there was a recescence coming up near the end of the PlayStation 4 era to now where it's starting to get a little bit better, but it's still not as big as it used to be.
Well, there's one title in particular that changed all that, and that's Kingdom Hearts. Square has always
Yeah.
been at the forefront of RPGs, and when they did Kingdom Hearts, they completely the turn base was gone, and a lot of people really liked the action kind of style of that. I'm with you guys. I like turn-based RPG. Like I said, I want to play Rebirth because I see the big green open worlds and it's like, okay, here we go. But I didn't like the boss fights. I didn't like the combat in it, but that's okay. You don't have to like everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Like
Yeah.
there's so many games out there for everyone, right? But the
Yeah.
problem is like these companies like Square now are trying to appeal to a broader audience. So like where Persona's done a really good job of narrowing in that focus, as well as like a lot of people have a real fine affinity for Persona 3 and the Persona games in general.
Right.
Kind of like the Tales games, right? Like the Tale games still have a very good following. They're not as I would say they're less of a turn-based RPG, but they still like in that kind of close to a genre that they still sell fairly well.
Speaking moistly, good morning. All right, you changed your pick. Glowworm. Never had one, but I do
Oh, I
remember.
remember those
Remember
things.
Glowworm? Let's bring that up. I remember Glowworm. Yeah, very cool. We were talking about Toys of '86 the other day, and like Teddy Ruxpin came up. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
Teddy
were talking about
Ruxpin.
that on stream yesterday. It was Teddy Ruxpin. I can't
Yeah,
remember why. I think it was Binary Geek brought it up.
and my buddy, and me. Never you mind. Okay. Quarterman and the Gaming Gossip, one of the best columns in EGM. So these are rumors that Quarterman himself, who was an agent of gaming back in the day, would go to Japan and back to North America and get the biggest scoops. And most of what Quarterman said became reality. So he was a trusted name. Where's Quarterman now? Where is he now? I wonder. Well, he created Xbox, maybe. I don't know. Where is he? Let's start with Konami. Everyone loves Konami. Konami is set
I
to
wanna
make a
know.
major announcement at the Consumer Electronics Show. The NES Superpower will show not only their sequel to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they will also have a remake. Oh, sorry, remarkable new peripheral that you wear on your. I can already tell you right now, I've seen the future. Anything you wear on your head does not work from this era. So, the unnamed device includes stereo headphones to simulate true stereo on the NES, as well as a microphone that actually recognizes your voice. With special game cards, you'll be able to give voice commands like fire and get an appropriate response on screen. Can't wait to scream. Oh my God.
Fire.
On that. Some things you can't say. Yeah, there you go. And that thing did come out. I can't remember what it was called, but it's terrible. Look it up. Angry Video Game Nerd did a really great episode on all the useless peripherals of the NES, and the headgear was one of them. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. Didn't LGN have one of those too?
Maybe it had like the
flip thing down.
Yeah, it looked like something a sniper would wear, but yeah. Anyway, you're up, buddy.
I'm gonna talk about this one because we were talking about the MMC earlier.
Sure.
So here's a hot one. The MMC 5 technology that was discussed in last issue's EG Express could possibly rely on a special interface that will use the 64-pin port on the basement of the NES. The bottom?
Yeah, if you look on the bottom of the NES, there's an extension port.
Huh.
Yeah.
I've never actually knew that. I've looked at the NES before. I never even thought of checking that out. Well, anyways. The only way to juice up the NES games with the extra graphics and sound effects that the MMC 5 provides is apparently to use the hidden port. Okay. New handheld news. I love how he just goes on tangents.
It's just his thoughts on paper, right?
The perfect portable from NEC was rumored to be labeled many things during development, including handy graphics and game tank. But now it appears that the machine will go by the name of Turbo Express. Yeah. Come on, guys. I think you've heard that one before. Okay. Rude. Retail price is a bit high at $250, but with a tuner for only one more C note, you've got a Super TV in the palm of your hands for less than most comparative models. The name, though, I just know I've heard it before.
I don't know what he's talking about, but again, EGM, the turbo haters.
That's it. Verified, confirmed. They hate everything that NEC brought out.
BXGO, thanks, mate. The Konami Laser Scope, it was called. You Googled it. Hey, I appreciate the honesty, too. I couldn't remember.
Handy graphics. Hey, son, hand me them handy graphics.
Speaking of NES licenses, we've got it by good word that there will be dozens of new names signed on ranging from computer publishers like Access and Lucas, who will show off magnificent action shooter Star Wars soon, to coin-op developers like Yankee Games. Who the hell is Yankee Games? I've never heard of them before.
Yankee Games, produced by Doodle Interactive.
That's bad.
I'm gonna get coffee.
I can't laugh. I'm gonna lose my place. There's so much text. Whatever your pleasure might be, you can rest assured that will be plenty to come at Christmas time. In closing, I'd like to give a big thumbs up to my main man and editor at EGM, Steve Harris, for allowing me to go to the Consumer Electronics Show and give my personal insights this game show of shows. I'll see you next issue with an expanded report from the floor of the Consumer Electronics Show. Handy graphics. Oh my God. Yeah. Handy Grammix. So, I mean, next issue is going to be exciting. Going to be exciting. International Outlook. I want everyone to take a look at this particular still. In the center right corner here, we have Strider, which was I would say, probably the most exciting moment I ever had getting a game as a gift. When I got Strider, I was sure that there was never ever going to be a game that was greater than this in the history of anything ever. And I was right. Strider to this day for the Genesis is such an incredible game. This blew me away in every aspect. I already thought Strider was a great character by Capcom, but the NES one is safe to say fell a little short, but this was pretty much an arcade perfect port of Strider. And it did come Christmas 1990. But here is the Mega Drive version. So again, they're taking the news from Japan. Back in the day, Japanese companies always got the games first, or they came out first. And Strider was one of them. Remember Strider? Oh my God.
Strider's great. There was that PS3 version. I think we talked about this before, but they had that re-release kind of when they were doing the era of the Bionic Commando stuff too.
Yeah.
And that was really good too.
Yeah. Strider is great. He's just such an awesome character. I think he was in his big heyday I think he was a taggable character in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, but in 2, you could actually play him with his old NES colors. But yeah, this is the game. It's awesome. Whip Rush. I played this one too. Another great shooter. Darwin 4081.
That's an awful name. I've never even heard of that.
Now, a lot of these Japanese games might have got different names when they came to North America. I don't know if this one ever came out. DJ Boy certainly did. That game was an arcade hit, and certainly known on the Genesis for having just bright and beautiful colors. It was like a Double Dragon beat 'em up, but you're on roller skates. Yeah. Well, how do you say that one in the bottom right? Barumba.
Barumba. That sounds right.
Barumba.
It's like a dance. Let's do the barumba.
Formation Armed F. And you can see where a lot of these, like, they changed the name when they came to North America. It was just like, what is Formation Armored F?
Nichibutsu. Nishibatsu?
Dude. Yeah, you got it too for Christmas. So did I. And like I said, I don't want to repeat myself, but I have to because it's so great. I thought that was the pinnacle of video games. No game is ever going to beat Strider. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, Strider was in MVC2, and Strider was like one of the best characters you could have in Marvel's Capcom 2. So good.
I never played 3, but remember Arthur 2? Arthur was a taggable character in 1.
I still say if Capcom were to go back and make just like a 2D sprite game with like the 3D backgrounds, just super high def nowadays, and that's like Marvel vs. Capcom 4, they would make bank. So many people would buy that. Just give it like the same play style as 2. Get rid of all this weird stuff that they added with 3, and there was another one too, I think, wasn't there?
Well, there was 3, and then wasn't there like a 3 at retail, 3 with all the DLC? But I don't think there was.
Maybe that's
3.
it.
Yeah. 3 I never played, dude. I remember just hearing like they had great characters, right? Like Beautiful Joe, they put him in it. And
yeah.
There was
but it's just not good, apparently. Just didn't play well.
There was a bunch of Resident Evil characters in there too. I think Jill was in 2 though. It's been a long time since I played.
Yeah, Jill was in 2.
Yeah. So maybe it was Chris or Leon that was in the 3rd one. Does anybody remember?
Chris was in the 3rd one.
Oh, okay.
But it was like bulky Chris from Resident Evil 5.
5, yeah.
Like big muscle bound Chris.
Yeah. Hey man, he's been working out. Come on, leave the guy alone. Leave the guy alone. He's even bulkier in 8, man. He's like, and he's older and stuff. Oh, it's so great. Anyway, BX says, "Oh my god, I had DJ Boy." Yeah, man. What a strange name. 3 a.m. says my favorite Capcom character ever is Jill Valentine. She's pretty damn good, man. Too bad she got all messed up in 5 or whatever the hell happened with
Well,
games.
maybe if they go back and I don't know redo 5, they can kind of retcon some of that stuff.
Remember, like, and I never played through that. Did you ever? I played 5, didn't get very far because I didn't like it. But remember, there was it's the ending of 5, I think, where Wesker kidnaps her, or she takes Wesker off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And then remember, Jill comes back and she's like a bad guy. She has like long blonde hair, and it's like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Stop.
What do you mean? What am I doing?
No, I'm just saying, like, Capcom, what are you doing with Jill, right?
Oh.
She had like the control thing here and stuff like that. Remember, it was all weird.
I thought you said Will. What are you doing? I'm like, what? But you said Jill.
No. I said, wait, what are we doing?
Wait. Okay. I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm sitting here listening to you. Or
JT
am
says,
I?
"We're working over here." Chris has been hitting that juice between Resident Evil missions.
Yeah, he bulked up huge between 4, like 3, 4, and 5. What was Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 he's super skinny,
Guinea. Yeah.
and then 2 he's not in. Then 3 he's
No.
not in. 4 he's not in.
Not in it. So 5 was like his back.
Well, there was Code Veronica. He's in Code Veronica.
Yeah.
And he more or less looks the same. But yeah, 5 he really. I like that. I like the progression of the character though. Like, I dig that. I don't like.
And then in like 7, he's kind of like, is he kind of? He's still, I guess, he's still kind of beefy in 7.
I never played through 7, but 8,
oh wait, no, 8.
He's
Sorry,
an 8. 8, he's big. But it makes sense. I like it. He's like the big cheese now, and he's in charge of what is it, Blue Umbrella or whatever they're called. I liked it. I liked his progression.
Did you play the DLC for Ian's daughter in 8?
Oh, dude, it's one of my favorite ones. I love it.
Really?
Shadows.
I didn't
of
try
Rose.
that one yet. Yeah. I should go back and try that.
Shadows of Rose allows you to pop into the third person, so you could go back and play Village in third. It's great.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like actual Resident Evil. Arcade Alley. This is Smash TV Arcade.
Smash TV is so good.
How many of you guys out there have played this arcade version, like now? And that's all I'll say. You can still play it now. I just won't say it. You can play it now.
I still beat myself up where I missed out on this Smash TV arcade cabinet for like $300.
Oh, do you know how much that hurts considering my crappy Choplifter one was 200? Yeah, you should really.
The worst thing about it is I held off on it. They sold it to somebody. It was like somebody off in like one of the farm areas around here. Sure. Like those are the best ones because like a lot of these people, A, they don't know what they have, and B, like they keep it in pristine shape. But anyways, somebody bought it from them and then they immediately flipped it for like double the value. And I was like, man, if I would have bought that, I would have kept it and like cherished it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I throw this question out usually once a year, but I'm going to throw it out to the chat. I want you guys to answer. If you could have one arcade game, and not a 1-up, no disrespect to 1-up, but an actual full-size arcade game, if you could just pick one, what would you have in your house right now?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I go back and forth between Champion Edition and Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I know you wanted a Donkey Kong cab for a long time.
Yeah, watching King of Kong when it first came out, dude, I still love that movie, man.
We watched it together so many times.
Oh, it's so great, but it really got me into marathon gaming and just falling in love with the game so much that just beating your high score, like I always put it on before I would raid in WoW or something, and it would just get you into the mood of being a better game player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Probably Street Fighter Champion Edition. Probably. I love that game.
Yeah.
I would say. But Marvel vs. Capcom 2, dude, is... I don't know if it's better, but it's a damn good pick, though.
It's... For me, that's like... Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is kind of like represents the peak of fighting games for me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like that was like the pinnacle. Like that's the echelon of where a lot of these games hit, and like we're getting close to that again. I feel because like Street Fighter 6 is fantastic. It plays very well. The online support is great, and then like Tekken 8 that just came out is incredible as well too. Um, so like fighting games are coming back, and it's kind of glorious. But nothing captivates me as much as like that era of like just that the cross between Marvel vs. Capcom characters and how well every character played. Doesn't matter the combination you had, you
Yep.
could play any of those characters and still be viable. It just so
Yeah, and
good.
it was also great too because that one in particular had so many characters to unlock.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
And
fun too. Like going in there and like unlocking the characters. Even
yeah,
in the arcade, you'd go in and like certain characters would still be locked because you had that machine wasn't played enough.
yeah, and Thanos was in it, and this was before, not to sound like a hipster, but it was not. It was way before Thanos became what he is now. It was when he was actually like super scary, and Infinity Gauntlet was a thing that was brand new, and it was so cool and hip of Capcom to put that character in there.
Yeah.
It was such a good game. Yeah. Okay, let's see what Curbstomp says. Narc, dude, that's a good one. Have you ever finished the arcade version? Dude, it's like it would take you like an hour to beat Mr. Big. I had a chance to get Silent Scope 1. So either that or the 4-player Avengers game. Ooh, that's good.
Well, the Avengers one was that the Children of the Atom? Was that the arcade one?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that was Sega or not. I think Sega made that one.
Silent Scope's a good pull too. I played many an hour of Silent Scope.
Zazel's
One and
here.
two.
What's up,
Hey,
brother?
Zazel.
How you doing, buddy? Good morning. Good evening for you. BX says Galaga. Another solid pick, man. And 3 a.m. says the Capcom D&D game. Yeah, that game's sick. Alien versus Predator, Turtles.
Man, I love a Daytona.
Daytona. Even that Star Wars Pod Racer game is crazy.
Mm.
But yeah,
Man, the 4-player Daytona, I remember like going on my lunch breaks with my buddies like down to the old arcade downtown, and like
yeah,
we would just spend our whole lunch hour just playing Daytona.
so incredible. Super Famicom update, 16-bit Nintendo close to production. Oh my god, it's a thing.
It's
So,
coming.
with all this talk of upgrading the Nintendo itself, again, it does have the expansion slot. All this talk of upgrading that, again, it's kind of futile because, I think Nintendo learned quickly after seeing especially what happened with the Sega CD that upgrading a current console is not necessarily the best move,
Mm.
right? You have that PC mentality on a console. I don't think it's ever really been successful, but yeah, the Super Nintendo's coming out apparently. So everyone save your money. I heard it might be good. Just saying.
Get ready.
And there's that picture I talk about all the time. It was called actually Super Mario Brothers 4. And there's that early picture of Mario World, and it looks completely different.
Yeah,
But
entirely different.
yeah, I don't
But
know.
something about that art style in that picture, though, it looks really good still. Like, I would be down to play something that kind of looks like that.
Yeah, that's obviously an early alpha or beta, or I don't know what it is. Matt says X-Men, Children of the Atom, Avengers, Simpsons, TMNT. Yeah, they were all different coats of paint by Konami, but they're all freaking amazing. Moonwalker too. I'm a big fan of the Sega arcade Moonwalker. There's the old Turbo Express NEC to show off the Turbo Express at the Consumer Electronics Show. First on-hand test reveal superiority. Whoa! See, this is them trying to get back the Turbo fans they lost over the last few issues. Come back! The Turbo is great. We love it. See, we love it. The Turbo Graphics Express was very unique at the time because it was color. There was an optional TV tuner, so you could probably tune into your local cable station or whatever. But the cool thing about the Turbo Express was it played your existing TurboGrafx games. You didn't need to buy an entirely new library like the Game Boy. You could just take that. So it was a little bit easier to try and convince your parents, Mom, I don't want to go blind with the Game Boy anymore. Can you please buy me this because it's backlit and I can play it in the dark and I won't go blind. And all these games you already bought, well, I can use them too, except I want the new bonk as well. So add that on too, Mom. Please. Thank you. Just saying.
Thanks, Mummy. Mummy?
I stopped playing Mario after 3. Any particular reason why? Just curious.
Who's that? Curb Stomp? Wow.
Yeah.
Really? See, like, that's a toughie because, like, Super Mario World is fantastic. I always have that toss up between Super Mario Brothers 3 or Super Mario World being my favorite of the Super Mario Brothers games.
Of the like old school traditional
Yeah.
side scroller ones, yeah, dude, I'm the same. Like Mario 3 box art, favorite all time, no joke. But game, is Mario 3 better? Well, I don't know. Let's do a poll. You want to do a poll? Let's do a poll.
Yeah, let's do it. Poll time.
Let's do the old school poll. I just want to know what you guys are going to say here, and this will be easier for you.
Yeah, because like Mario 64, I kind of put it on its own area because it definitely, it's hard to compare the traditional side-scrolling platformer to like the 3D era of gaming that came out later, right?
Yeah, it is. And it's really great that Nintendo kept the old side-scrolling games alive with new versions on the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch, respectively. And then we got Odyssey. So anyone who liked the 3D Mario, there you go. Anyone like the side-scrolling Mario, there you go. I think it's a brilliant move. Me personally, like Zelda, I prefer the 3D ones much more.
Mm-hmm.
I would much rather go back and play Ocarina of Time than Link to the Past. Again, there's nothing wrong with either. That's what I prefer. How about you?
For that one, I actually prefer Link to the Past.
Do you? Okay. Fair. That's fair. Well, you're incorrect, sir, but that's fine.
Easy. Easy.
Oh, Curb Stomp says I suck at Mario and never beat any of them. They're not easy, dude.
Yeah, they're tough games.
It's a cute little Mickey Mouse mascot, sure, but those games are hard, man. I didn't beat Mario 1 until way after the Super Nintendo was out. Next wave of games coming out for each system. So the TurboGrafx. Did you ever play Clax?
No, I never played that one. I think we've talked about this before.
Clax is cool. One that I'm hunting for the Turbo, but I've never really come across it. I come across it for the Tengen version for the NES all the time, which, sorry, this is actually the NES version. The Turbo one is the one I want. That one is a little more colorful. Vermilion by Sega, which would later be renamed to the Sword of Vermilion. Think of Phantasy Star 2 with Medieval. And then there's big mini boss and actual boss fights in a side-scrolling kind of view that they actually don't show here. But this game had great cinematics. It was just a wonderful game. I don't think it ever got a sequel. I think it was just one and done.
Sword of Vermilion. Yeah, I can't. I missed out a lot of like the Sega games until later on, so I don't have a lot of knowledge of a lot of the games that were available on there. I just missed out. I was always like a Nintendo kid in the family.
Right. eSWAT, which was another side scroller, a Sega game made famous in the arcade. Futuristic, kind of like RoboCop. You were a police officer, and then eventually you get a power up where you get into this big mech suit. Very inspired by RoboCop for sure. 3am says, due to nostalgic reasons, I choose 3. It's pretty hard to beat that unveil in The Wizard.
Yeah.
Like, that's monumental. The only Mario game I've ever personally beat was Mario 64, which is not easy to do either.
Tough game.
I played Mario RPG. I liked it very much, but 3 defines Mario. So yeah. So I wouldn't count. I'm just talking mainline Super Mario games, like his own games. Mario RPG, I would say. I mean, Square made that for the Super Nintendo. That was a big Square Nintendo. I think that was the last hurrah before they jumped ship to PlayStation. Yeah.
And then brought out the legendary Final Fantasy VII.
Christoph says, I'm playing Mario for Nintendo. Remember this? Yeah, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, I recently got a copy of Super Mario RPG, the remake for the Nintendo Switch. Oh, it's so good. It plays so well. They did
It's
an
good,
amazing
yeah.
job remastering that.
It looks great. I've never played it before.
Recommend it. Maybe that'll be something you can do on stream. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, I'm looking for an RPG. And again, I want to play
How
Rebirth
about
so bad, but
I got that one. Whoop. It's the Unicorn
oh
Princess.
yeah.
Princess. Was it? Yeah. Unicorn Overlord. Why do I want to say
Here, hang
Princess for
on.
some reason? That's
There
the
you
one
go.
I got recently. That's done by Vanillaware, released by Atlas. It's more like a tactical RPG, so very similar to like Fire Emblem and stuff. But it's I popped it in a little bit and played it last night, and it was pretty good.
Nice. Are you gonna stream that, or
I don't know.
that would be cool to see?
I'm still figuring out stream stuff. I think I'm keeping Twitch and YouTube kind of separate from each other.
Trust me, brother. Well, you and I we're kind of going through the same thing, but opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like I want to do the other competitor as well, but you got to separate it. The multi-stream thing, I'm telling you from personal experience, does not get you anywhere. There's always one of the platforms suffers big time.
Yeah.
So I would do that. I would keep them separate, man, for sure. But
Yeah.
Air Diver. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Matt just came up with a question there. It says everyone's been gushing about Unicorn Overlord. You need to know more. Like you just found out about it. Yeah. So it was just recently announced at Nintendo, the last Nintendo, not Direct, but Treehouse or whatever. They had that little like a couple months ago. They had that showcase they had for like a lot of their third party publications, and they had that on there. But it's made by the same guys. I don't know if you ever played back in the day. There was games Odin Sphere, Dragon's Crown, and then the Grim Grimoire, which was only available on the PlayStation 2. So they've only ever really released 4 games from this studio, but like they are fantastic. And that's one of the reasons I rushed to buy it, because like when they're here, like, you know, you only get a little bit of time before they're pretty much gone, and then everybody jacks up the price on them as a resale.
Every game, especially in the PS2 era, even the PS3 era, every game that Atlas either made or published was always rare. Do you remember that? We would only get like 1 or 2 of them, and then it would never come back in. People always ask, "Do you have Dragon Crown and stuff like that?" It's like that came and went, man. Sorry. Cutthroat wants to know, how many games do you have, WillLo?
I don't even know. Not as many as Jay. Like, if we talk about like, well, yeah, Jay obviously has a lot bigger collection than I do of games.
It's not as big as it used to be, man. I slimmed it down over the last decade. Honestly, like I don't feel the need to complete any kind of.
Yeah, we both went through that, right? We went through that phase where we were hunting for everything.
I almost just contradicted myself, because what I do, like, aside from Nintendo 64 Quest, that's not what I'm talking about, and Nintendo Quest, I'm separating that. Like, now, aside from that show that we're doing, I don't feel the need to, like, for Genesis, it's like I don't feel the need to buy every single game for it. I just don't. So I'm really picky. I still love the weird stuff, the obscure stuff. That's still my favorite stuff to buy and play and make videos about, because I'm just fascinated by the bizarre, right? So Air Diver, we talked about this when we hate the cockpit. It takes up all of the screen. They keep showing Air Diver. Oh, these are tricks. That's why. Sorry, we got lost here. These are tricks. We kind of just skipped past this part a little bit. Here's a great Lynx ad. Warning: the following may cause chills, dizziness, and shortness of breath. I mean, I don't know if I want this. I don't know if I want this if it's going to do that.
I don't like the design of the Lynx. It looks weird. Like the buttons on top and below, that seems like too far to go between.
And let's look at the console. So pretend you're holding it. Look how far in the D-pad is.
Yeah. If you go back to the page before that, I think it has like a bigger view of it. There it is.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, so look at that. Like, you would be really in. Like, you have to have meat hands. This is like the Duke controller. We always talk about the Duke from the original Xbox.
The original Xbox.
Or like the Jaguar controller is just this big piece of meat. Just like right there.
Yeah, and like that one, like see where the speaker is too. So if you're playing with that and you're covering, you're going to be muffling the speaker as well.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
it's not very well designed.
we're going through game of the month, and this is one of the reasons I love EGM because this would be a little free inside the issue, I believe, strategy guide.
Mhm.
Ninja Gaiden takes on the Metal Masters Anthrax. What? I don't know what that means. Ghetto, what's up, buddy? Good morning. How's the
Morning,
West
Ghetto. I
Coast?
think Dale came in there too. Morning, Dale.
Dale, you're here, buddy. A lot of purple. A lot of purple. Good to see you guys. Ninja Gaiden returns the dark sort of chaos. Yeah, I love the maps here. This is just great. Again, unnecessary, sure, but I think it just shows their love for gaming in general. And this was like brand new stuff, right? Mapping out games, even though it's unnecessary. I still think it's
Mhm.
awesome.
I
But
still
look at
want to
it.
get like a poster of that. Just like one complete level as like one big poster. You start from the top left and work your way down. I think it'd be cool.
I mean, it really can't be too hard to make it yourself, right?
That's
I
true.
mean, you could either capture the images with your card and just do screenshots and to just take it somewhere to get a high end printout of it, right? Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good idea. It's a good idea, man. Oh, here you go. Anthrax and Tecmo. Ninja Gaiden takes on Anthrax. Oh, that's amazing.
What?
So Anthrax is an 80s metal band.
Okay.
It
See,
looks
when I
like
say anthrax, you remember like the
a
chemical that
scare.
gave a scare for everyone. That's what I think initially.
That was right after 9/11. Remember there was all that weird anthrax in the mail? Remember
Yeah.
that?
hmm Weird
God,
times.
bizarre, man. Ryu Hayabusa may be the nastiest ninja in Nintendo land, slaying the evil forces of Jakku and Ashtar, but Tecmo's master ninja was no match for the masters of metal, Anthrax. Several members of Rock's hottest new band were invited to the Ninja Gaiden on were invited, excuse me, to take Ninja Gaiden on in a private showing of Tecmo's graphic artist, Jason Magnus.
Hmm.
The band rated the new ninja highly, giving a sword slashing superhero thumbs up. Stuff like this was cool because, as we've talked about, in 1990, playing this stuff was not considered cool.
Yep.
You were a nerd, right? You were kind of made fun of. Well, you were made fun of, and seeing like a cool metal band, like as hard as Anthrax, they're like Slayer, right? They're heavy. Seeing them play this, it was great. I loved it. Made you feel okay. What the hell is this? Dash Galaxy.
Dash Galaxy in the Alien Asylum.
It looks like a bootleg of Space Ace and the Rocketeer kind of mixed together.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Actually,
Yeah.
I was thinking the Rocketeer is the first thing that came with like vest with like the pin across. Like I don't. I think that was like an old timey war thing, right?
Yeah, and a little hint of Flash Gordon too. A little bit of Flash
Mm.
Gordon in there as well. Yeah, there you go. Matt said it. Flash Gordon ripoff. What is this? This is just more in depth on some of the games that they reviewed. So some nice screens of Narc. Just little hints and tips. God, this magazine was so good back in the day. Like
It was
I
a
would
great
just,
idea. It was just yeah.
we would eat up all of this, like everything, every little hint, every little tip.
Isn't it weird to think how nowadays we just get everything instantly? Like if you don't get something within a day's notice, like you're out of date. All the way around the world, you can find out about anything at any time, any moment's notice now. But then back then, we had to wait months before we got any new information.
We had to wait months, yes, and this would have been wrote months before. So this, I think, is August or September 1990. They would have wrote these articles in what, June?
hmm
Like, so it's so archaic now. But there was something so sweet about having to wait and getting all that information once a month that you could kind of digest at your own pace. I liked it, but I mean, I'm old school. The system that brought you Legendary Axe, the video game of the year. Oh,
Double Dungeons.
Oh,
No,
I
it's not the
think
same game. What game is it? It doesn't even say the name of the game, does it?
this is Legendary Axe. So
Oh,
this is a double spread. So this should not be here. So it should be this, then to this. This is
I
the
got
other
you.
side of the ad.
See, the way they were wording it sounded like they were bringing out a new game. They were like, oh, from the studio that brought you Legendary Axe comes a new tale in epic adventure.
Oh,
Cybercore.
what is this? What is this? UPS straight up lost 5 of my game packages. Oh, dude. Come on, really?
Is there no insurance or something like that for that happening?
Like eBay purchases, or dude, that sucks, man.
Is it? Yeah, I've never bought anything off eBay. We were talking about this earlier. eBay still kind of scares me a bit.
You're covered. So if you got it off eBay, Ghetto, you'll be able to. There's got to be a way to track it. And if UPS lost them, they have to pay you back, man. They can't just, oh, sorry, it's gone. Like something like Snatcher or whatever. It's like $1,000 game. Oh, it's gone. Sorry. Hey, look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Sorry. Hey, yo, it's Chad over here.
Chad is rocking and rolling right now with his band in California. Is it Arizona, California? I think he's going to Vegas next to the Punk Rock Hall of Fame.
I think you say it right, though. California.
California. What's up, buddy? Hope you're staying safe. You'd have to pay the extra insurance unless it was offered by the seller.
Oh. Yeah, stuff like that scares me.
It was all open. Oh, it was a claim sale, so it wasn't off eBay. Ah, I'm sorry to hear that, dude. That's rough.
How do they have no liability if they lose the package? That's what I don't understand.
From here on, I'm doing extra insurance. But five, like, okay, 1, okay, I can see that. But 5, were they all coming from the same seller? Like, how do they lose 5 individual packages from someplace?
Yeah, that seems very strange.
I'm sorry, brother. We're here. We're here for you. Oh.
Splatterhouse.
They didn't review this yet, did they?
Not yet. So it's not, I don't think it's officially released yet. Yeah, because this is the July issue, available August. Yeah,
Okay,
so it's still a few months
hopefully
early.
next month we get this one. This is my favorite Turbo game.
So good.
You got it right. Obviously, you have this one.
I actually don't. I've not been able to find one at a decent price because I'm not paying top dollar for some of what people are asking for. So I'm waiting until I find like something that's reasonable to me. Because I've seen this in store, some of the local shops, and they're asking like $250 for it. I'm like, I'm not.
I bit the
game, but I
bullet
can't.
in 2015, and I bought a sealed one. I do not have it anymore. I've released it since, but I did get a sealed one, and I think it was like $4 US. It had to be, but
that's still too much.
That's insane, right? But I did it because I'm like, it's one of my favorite games. But my mindset has shifted since then. Thank God. Yeah. But this game is fantastic. A really, really great translation of the arcade. I'm still not sure why they made. Who's your character in this? Can't remember his name. Rick. Rick is the character. Why they made his mask red and in the arcade it's white? I don't get it, but
yeah, there has to be some kind of reason behind it.
Nevertheless, yeah. More ads for Turbo. We got game levels. This is weird. They haven't reviewed this yet. But I remember seeing this one, and of course, being a horror fan, I was like, oh my God, it's like Friday the 13th, the game. Oh, here's that game, Curse.
Yeah, that's the one you were looking at earlier.
I'm going to look this up after because I'm not sure if this came to North America. I'm not sure.
It had to, if they're reviewing it, or yeah, they reviewed it. It had to have come over here, right?
You're right.
You think?
The babe, this picture here.
Super Monaco GP.
This babe, I was like, oh my God, like she looks like realistic. This was like the title screen for Super Monaco GP. And I'm like, okay, Genesis does do what Nintendo don't. It's official. Afterburner. Game Boy, we just got some more levels for Double Dragon. Still think that looks great. Are we going to get Bishu? I don't know if we're going to get Bishu anymore.
We're getting near the end.
Yeah.
Xenophobe.
Xenophobe for Lynx. Pretty good port of the arcade, but nonetheless.
We're getting very ad heavy, eh?
Near the end, you do. You get really
Yeah.
ad heavy. But you remember EGM when we were working at EB? Do you remember like it was this thick, but dude, it was like 50% ads.
Yeah, it was
It
getting
was
ridiculous
so
because they were
many.
trying to make up their money, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they would boast, oh, this issue is like 250 pages. It's like, yeah, man, but it's all ads. Oh, supposedly Bishu was around until 1995.
Huh.
Well, I remember we looked into it and they got sued by Sega or something like that. Or they sued Sega. They sued Sega, I think, and lost. There you go. That's it.
Another
Retro
one
Mag.
in the books.
So from now on, when we're doing these read throughs, we will put the link to the Retro Mag site, the specific link to this issue. If you guys want to read along, feel free to do so. But thank you to Retro Mags. That was a great issue.
That was a lot of fun. Another great Sunday.
Another great Sunday with WillLo. Are you streaming today?
Yep. Yeah, I'll be back tonight over on Twitch. We'll be playing some Enshrouded. We restarted the server, so we're starting afresh because we had some new people that wanted to jump in and play with us. So we're just doing a whole new game on that one. And then right now you can catch me every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday on Twitch at 2 p.m. We play a whole bunch of stuff. I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. Started up that this week, and that's been a lot of fun. And YouTube side of things, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know what I'm doing with YouTube yet.
We got to get you more on the YouTubes, buddy. We gotta figure that out. Yeah, we got to do that. Yeah. I wonder if Bishu stopped advertising in EGM due to the TurboGrafx hate. Well, they primarily were making NES controllers when they were advertising. So
yeah, I wonder if it is maybe based off that lawsuit. Is they stopped doing that for like financial reasons, and then like whenever it settles, they'll be back.
Yeah, not sure. That was fun, guys. Are you with us next week?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. No,
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah. Pretty sure.
So we'll be coming at you next week. Willie and I will talk. We'll figure it out. I really like doing the magazines. I don't know. Maybe we should do like a Nintendo Power. Maybe start with them. Maybe we can do a Game Pro. Not that I want to abandon EGM, just to kind of maybe switch it up a bit. Maybe we'll throw a poll out. You guys can let us know.
There's a lot of great publications.
Chad's
There's a lot of
giving you the
magazines we can perform. Hi, Chad. Hope you're having a safe travel, buddy. Stay safe out there.
He's rock and rolling. Dude, remember, take a picture of Kurt's guitar, Dave's drums, or Chris's bass for me. I'm pretty sure one of them is in the Punk Rock Hall of Fame. Please, please. Thank you. Thank you, guys. We couldn't do this without you, so thanks for hanging out. Give me 5 minutes. We're going to switch over on my channel to 7 Days to Die, the community stream. We got real problems there. So I'm streaming. Willie's streaming. Go where you want to go. Have some fun. Enjoy your Sunday. We'll see you guys on the next